This is Olufori. Today on hashtag The African Dream, the favorite 30 minutes human interest chat show, we have a special guest who has been to Ghana, which is where he's based, by the way. He's been to South Africa, he's been to the Netherlands, he's been to the United Kingdom, he's been to Kenya, oh my gosh. But his name is Rexford Nkansah, and he's been to all these places through his work as a photographer and a videographer. We have him here to share with us some of the tips and tricks that he uses to enhance his profession and to hopefully motivate and encourage young and upcoming photographers. So, Rexford, welcome to hashtag The African Dream.
Well, thank you for having me.
It's a pleasure. It's a pleasure. Now, let me ask you the tough questions first.
Okay.
You have a client, you've done a shoot,
Yeah.
you've presented the product. In your opinion, this is a wonderful presentation. The client is unhappy. What do you do?
I try to understand what we can do because our end goal is to make the client happy. So
Right.
our conversation is going to go like, okay, so we think this was great. It's not making you happy. How do we improve it? Do we need to take certain things out? Do we need to add certain things out? In extreme cases, if we have to shoot certain parts, we might have to do that. But the bottom line is trying to please the client and meet them at a point where they are content with the work. So we are not doing it for ourselves. If we are creating content for myself, for example, I'm the creative person involved. But if it's for a client, the goal is to take whatever creative ideas they have and try to present what they want. And sometimes it happens that what they want is not even in our minds the best, but that is what they want, that's what makes them happy. That is the vision, so we create it for them, and then we actually
Make them happy.
And
I like that.
When they are happy, they are paying us to make them happy. So when we give them the result they want, to us, if they say this is the result we want, to us we've done a good job. And
Good.
Whether it is the best we envision or whatever, that it's not important.
So two things I'm learning from what you're saying. First of all, the client is the ultimate.
Yes, because they are paying us to do that.
Right. So make them happy no matter what the situation is. And your opinion doesn't matter.
Our opinion matters, but it should be fused with the
Client's
result expectations, because sometimes they might not know exactly how to go about something or the best approach to accomplish a task. That is where our professional opinion might come in terms of we can do it this way, we can go this approach and whatnot.
Right.
But it all falls in line with the end results they are looking to get.
Right.
Other than that, it defeats the whole idea of them hiring us.
Interesting. Now, tell us, what kind of gadgets are you using? What cameras are you using, and why are you using those cameras?
So there are different scenarios where I might use different cameras. So for weddings, normally I try to get an extra camera with what I currently have. I currently use the Canon RP with 3 prime lenses, 2 prime lenses, 1 zoom. And for weddings, I like to go with my 85mm, which allows me to get close-ups, a slightly wide shot. If I need an even more wider shot, I go with my 50. I hope to get extra wider shots, but for now, those they call it the nifty 50. Gets the job done for me most of the time. And depending on, like, I've been doing my clean spotting. And that one I go with the 100 to 400mm, which is good for zooming in for long range and also getting up close to nature, like flowers, birds, those kind of things.
Do you have some up close shots relating to nature photography that you can share with us?
Yeah.
So this particular photo that we're looking at, tiny creature, it's interesting to see it up close and in very much details. Tell me about it.
It's pretty interesting. I think this one was I think it's a housefly. I took a picture.
I know, right?
And I wanted to see how close I can get before they fly away.
Right.
And so preferably I would have used an 85mm for a shot like this because it's they call it the macro lens. That allows you to come really close to the subject. And so I had to stand afar and then zoom in with the 100 to 400 to get a shot like this.
What about the next photo? What are we looking at?
So this one was initial practice I was trying to do with bird photography, and I went bird watching with. We have this amazing photographer here in Ghana.
What's his name?
He's called Hassan. Hassan is Instagram page. He does. He is. I would consider him as a pro photographer for wildlife because aside him having the experience, he also has the equipment. Like he has this really huge lens he uses. And so I went with him for bird watching and got some of these shots at the Legon Botanical Garden.
These are beautiful shots.
Yes,
these are really beautiful shots.
They are beginner shots. I'm now getting into the wildlife photography, trying to learn from those in the system.
Right.
So depending on the event, if it's a corporate event, I like to use the 100 to 400 as well when it's outdoor. I stand afar, I'm able to get up close with movements happening and then get shots like that. So yeah, basically depending on the scenario, we go with different gadgets. And if we need to record sound, we have the wireless microphone we pipe into our sound recorder. And if we, depending on the use case, depending on the program, if we need to get extra cameras, we go rent some, come in and then.
Good.
Yeah.
Good. And I know you also do drone photography.
Yes.
Do you need a license to fly a drone in Ghana, which is where you're based?
Yes. So
tell us about that process.
Basically, you go through the process of I think it's at the Ghana Civil Aviation Authority. First of all, you need to register the drone you're using, which is more like registering your car. And then from there, for commercial use case, you have to get a commercial license to operate. And all of that is done at the Ghana Civil Aviation Authority. They have information on how to go about the process and whatnot. Based on that, you are certified to operate commercially. And so I've been doing the drone photography, videography for some time now. I think started somewhere in 2019. And my goal was just to capture the places here in Ghana because at the time I couldn't find a lot of drone content here in Ghana. So some of the interchanges, some of the waterfalls.
Tell us what we're looking at in the first one.
This one is my favorite, and well, I'll say one of my favorite. It's the Asanema Waterfalls, and it's kind of close to me, my heart, because the drone video I shot ended up helping that landmark become popular on Google Maps.
Where is it located?
It's just about 10 minutes drive from Edukrom, which is close to Ebri.
Okay.
Yes. So
outside of Accra?
Outside Accra through Peduase, you get to Ebri. There's continue a little bit to Edukrom, and right from Edukrom, immediately you descend the mountain. There's a waterfall to your left over there.
This is like beautiful.
Yes.
Just how long did it take you to shoot this? Because this looks very detailed and crisp.
Yes, and the whole the whole idea was because when I got to see the place, interestingly, quick backtrack to explain how I got to that waterfall. I went to another waterfall. It's called Boti Falls. I wanted to do stories of waterfalls within the eastern region. And when I got there, they were like, no, they won't let me shoot the drone video because they're going to charge me 2,000 cedis to take a drone shot. And I'm like, well, I'm trying to promote the place, but I don't have 2,000 cedis at the moment, so I'm going to go somewhere else. And that's how come I got to Asanema Waterfalls. The place was very beautiful. I was like, why is it so hard to find this place? Why is there no content of this waterfall? So I put it on Google Maps, and then I shot these drone videos of the place with the idea that people can find it and then get a fair idea of what they can expect to enjoy when they get there. And then when it got onto Google Maps, people now could find it easily. They could drive to the place easily. And then attention came and people started visiting the place.
Checking the place out.
Yes. And so with the drone photography, the whole idea was to share places that do not have drone content online, and then for many people in the diaspora, it was a good way for them to get an idea of how their country is evolving, places to see when they come to visit, and stuff like that. And because of that, we created a series. We call it Area Ghana. So myself, Ishmael, a few other writers, and then we got Osei Kwame to narrate for us.
Good.
Which the whole concept behind was trying to do something like the Aerial America concept, where the documentary is entirely drone video.
Right.
So the drone documentary was part of the original idea behind capturing these places and trying to share content from
interesting
people like you say the motherland.
People like me, I'm from the motherland too. I'm very much Ghanaian.
I know.
Although I'm a dual citizen.
So these are some of the shots we've been going around.
Nice. So tell us about yourself.
Yeah.
Who is Rexford Nkansah? What did he start out doing before he got into photography, videography, and drone? What is his motivating pull or push behind all this content creating through imagery?
Going back to educational background, I finished high school, Koforidua Sectech. That's where I went. Koforidua Senior High. That's where I completed. Back in high school, I've always had an interest in trying to do things with computers. So right from high school, I wanted to do something professional relating to software engineering.
Cool.
And that got me into building web applications, creating websites, and stuff like that, which got me also interested in contributing to Wikipedia at the time. And through that, got the opportunity to go to South Africa to do the Wikipedia in residence, got the chance to attend a couple of conferences, Wikimania conference, the Wikimania conference, and also a gallery-related event in Netherlands as well. And so from there, I've been a software engineer, primarily writing code for the most part. And but all along, I've been doing the photography as a hobby.
Right.
So when I go to events, even back in high school, when a program is happening, when an event is happening, I don't want to be part of the event.
Right.
I want to be the one standing somewhere taking pictures of those in the event.
Right.
And I have like huge collection of pictures way from high school. Currently, my album, I think I have close to 100,000 images of random events.
Right.
I have pictures of people who do not know I have the pictures of them. And it's all memories they had way back in high school or travels they went and all, stuff like that.
That's interesting.
So the photography was more like a side hobby thing.
Right.
It's recently that I'm trying to do that professionally and getting like professional equipment so that I could do it alongside the software engineering.
Now, let's focus on photography for a minute.
Yeah.
What should you do to your camera when you're going out for a photo shoot to make sure it's ready? What should you have with you besides your camera as well?
So battery and your SD card.
Okay.
And then I go an extra step to ensure my lens
So you need an extra battery and an extra SD card?
Yeah.
Okay.
And I go the extra mile to clean my lens. I personally feel it defeats the whole concept. If you're trying to take a picture and your lens is dirty, then the whole battery, SD card, camera itself is useless.
Right.
Because the lens is what allows...
It's the eye of the photographer.
Exactly.
Right.
So I make sure to clean my lens as well. And then after that, depending on what I'm going to shoot, if I need extra gear like a tripod or a flash or those kind of things, I go with. But these are primarily what I go with. And for the most part, if it's a simple event, I might just go with a single lens. These days, when I'm shooting my street photography, it's primarily just the 85 millimeter lens.
Okay.
I just strap it on and then...
you're on the go.
Yeah.
Okay. Now, what do you do to improve your skills and your knowledge in photography or videography? I mean, I know the internet is a great learning tool, but
Yeah.
what are some of the things that you do, and which leads me to the tips and
Yeah.
tricks, if you have any to share?
Yeah,
For
I think I've had this question asked by people who want to get into photography, and the first thing I tell them is to get the camera first. So without a camera, you won't be able to practice. And so when you get the camera, then you can put into effect what you're learning. It's one thing to learn, and it's another to practice. And
Right.
I have an example of that. I think the first time I tried, they call it panning long exposure.
What is
And-
panning long exposure?
Huh.
Putting an exposure in a pan.
Yes. and I think the first one I tried, I used a drone.
Okay.
So it was a pretty tricky shot to pull off. The whole idea is you want to take a long exposure, but in a panning form.
Right.
It was a shot of a trailer.
Okay.
The whole idea is you want, and you can do it with a handheld camera as well. These motor racing and
Okay.
car racing, the photographers, they're able to do it.
Right.
Where you get an image of the rider in focus, but then everything around them looks blurry in a form of a streak. The whole idea is to move your camera in tandem with the movement of the subject, and that will blur it out. But then your exposure should be long.
Right.
So instead of the normal shutter speed, like let's say 1/200th of a second, you want to go as slow as maybe 1/8 or even 1 second or 2 seconds. And in that moment, you focus on the subject, but because it's a long exposure, the entire background becomes blurry. Without a camera, you won't be able to practice this. Like,
Right.
you would understand the concept, but you actually need a physical camera to put it into motion.
Right.
Go to the roadside, a car is passing, try and get that shot, and then the whole, more like a muscle memory will kick in.
Right.
The next time you are in a situation like that, it's going to happen like clockwork. So,
interesting.
First of all, get a camera. It doesn't have to be an expensive camera. Just get any camera that allows you to do control your settings manually.
Right.
I wouldn't recommend a phone because the phones have this limitation when it comes to how much settings you can play with. On these cameras, they have they call it the exposure triangle. So your aperture, your shutter speed, and then your ISO.
Okay, 3 things.
Yes.
Aperture, shutter speed,
And then the
ISO.
That makes the exposure triangle.
What's the meaning of all these 3
So
things?
the aperture is how big the light entering the hole in your lens, which the light comes through, how big it is.
Okay.
So they have the numbering, they call it f-stops. If the lower the number, the wider the opening.
So it receives more light?
It receives more light.
Okay.
But it creates more shallow depth of field. So the concept of pinhole camera.
Right.
The bigger you make the hole, the more light enters, but then the higher the chance of your image becoming blurry.
Gotcha.
If you want a really sharp image, you want to reduce the size and then get a sharper image
ISO.
at the cost of more light entering.
What is ISO?
Then the ISO, honestly, I don't know exactly.
No, we don't need for you to define the acronym.
It's from what I remember, from what I've read, the ISO refers to sensitivity of the sensor.
Okay.
Now, this goes back in the days where they were using films. Your ISO had to do with how sensitive your tape was. So when they came to the digital era, that concept of sensitivity is brought in. Different manufacturers have different sensitivity. And so I think every manufacturer has a way of, for lack of a better word, mathematically computing what the ISO is for their sensor. But the whole idea is it refers to how sensitive whatever camera you're using the sensor is.
Gotcha. And the third one?
The shutter speed refers to how sharp the sensor is is exposed to the light coming in. So if you say something like 1/200th of a second, what it means is the shutter opened and closed 1/200th of a second. That's how fast.
Okay.
If you want to gather more light, you open it longer. If you want to freeze a frame, like a football shot,
right,
if you open it too long, it's going to be blurry. So you want to go somewhere 1/2000th and above,
right,
where it's going to be at the cost of losing light, because the faster it goes,
right,
less light comes in. And that is where you have to compensate with either your aperture. So you want to open the aperture wider.
right.
And by that, it means bringing the f-stop down and also playing with your ISO. So you want to increase the sensitivity a little bit. But the ISO is something you don't want to increase it so much, because the higher it goes, the grainier your image becomes.
Okay.
Fortunately for cameras these days, most of the sensors from the big brands are all really good. But
Gotcha.
you don't want to play with the ISO a lot more. It's more of a last resort.
Gotcha.
Yeah.
Gotcha. So you used a phrase, play with.
Yes.
Which brings me to editing. What softwares are you using to edit your images, and why are you
I currently
choosing
use Lightroom because it supports it has a wide array of support for pretty much all file formats.
Okay.
I recently learned about Lumix. They have the RW2, which is a format I didn't know of until recently. But then you put it in Lightroom, it works. It also has a lot of functionality and features to allow you to play with the pictures. In recent years, they are adding the I won't say AI specifically, but then it's more of smartness. It's really smart in detecting different portions of the images so that you can mask them and target them and all those stuff. So I use Lightroom for my pictures. For videos, I use primarily DaVinci Resolve. And that's my two go-to softwares for pretty much everything.
Right.
For pictures, I edit 95, 6, 7% in Lightroom.
Okay.
It's only edge cases I want to go into something like Photoshop or something of that sort. Yeah.
Got you. Now, tell us, how can people find you on social media?
I am in a hunt to hijack the words KHOPHI.
Okay.
So you can find it on my website, kofi.co.
Okay.
I have kofi.com.
Okay. You captured it all?
Yes. And then on Instagram, I'm kofi.co.
Okay.
I have kofi.photography, kofi.weddings, kofi.nature. And then on TikTok too is the same thing, kofi.photography.
Good.
My Kofi is KHOPHI. So
Okay.
pretty much when you search for that online.
Before we leave you, finally, what do you see the world of photography becoming as we look into the future? Based on your personal experience and based on artificial intelligence on the scene right now, and based on all the technological advancement, what do you see the world of photography becoming?
So if Victor, if you are watching this video, your camera, it was a Kodak camera. I used it in high school a lot. He wasn't interested with the camera, but he had it. I played a lot with it.
Right.
With AI, as you mentioned, photography is quickly changing. And the question of what is a photo is becoming contentious, because what is a photo? If you take a picture right now and I put hair on your head, and I make you, I fix my bald hair, and maybe I change my dress, and instead of wearing a jean, I'm wearing a different attire. At that point in time, is that still a photo? At what point does it become something else? And that is becoming trickier and trickier because of AI coming in the scene where
have you had the opportunity to play with
yes,
AI
I've
images?
played with
Share some with us. Tell us what we're looking at.
I think last month I subscribed to Midjourney, which is an AI image generative platform where I created all of these images. Some of them look super photorealistic. If they don't tell you it's...
You didn't actually point a camera at an image and shot.
People are going to be surprised. And it's going to disrupt the whole photography scene to a point. That's how I see it, because there is still sentimental value in actually taking a picture. For example, Photoshop did not kill artists. In a way, it enhanced them. It made their work, improve their work. Because in as much as I can print myself and put it on my wall, some people will still prefer to have somebody draw them. The process of the drawing is part of the value. It's not just the end result. It's the whole process. So the hand drawing the image and then me seeing that is why I'm paying for it. So in as much as I can print something, it did not take away from artwork. Likewise, with AI coming into the scene, we'll be able to generate a lot of things. We'll be able to generate whatever. Landscapes, mountains, whatever. But that image will still not be the real thing. It might be exactly the real thing, but it's not. And it's not because it does not have that sentimental attachment to it. And so it's gonna be crazy within the next few years, and within this year, just 6 months, the amount of AI technologies that have come out, it's more than every AI that has come in the past, 20, 25 years. And it's so because information is increasingly becoming available. They're able to train these systems. Computing power is becoming easily accessible, less costly, and more advanced. And so it's making all these trainings easier to do. It's crazy. And I feel this might be crazy, but it's going to be possible that you can simply take a picture of you and your spouse or your partner and then generate wedding pictures out of it.
That's
without having to even throw any party or whatever. Because but then there will still be the sentimental part of it, where it's not just the picture, it's the moment, it's the memories, it's the part of it. And I don't think it's going to kill our work entirely, but it's going to take away some clients who might not need our services explicitly, but we won't die off. Photographers, videographers will not necessarily die off.
I mean, I personally believe photography is the eye to the soul of the world. You know, just like the human eye is the eye to the soul of a person. And it's been amazing to have this discussion with you. We've learned a lot.
Thank you for having me.
Rexford Nkansah. And we look forward to having you again on #TheAfricanDream.
Cameraman, take a picture now, Mr. Cameraman. Cameraman, take a picture now, Mr. Cameraman. Bubuelo, Abadalla, take a picture now, Mr. Cameraman. Bubuelo, Adawala, take a picture now, Mr. Cameraman. Aibo, not what I eat. My last one, the number of months I eat. I eat. I'm in a matiti dala, I'm in a matiti dala, take a picture now, Mr. Cameraman. Ooh, cameraman. Cameraman.